Well, welcome everybody. Thank you all for being here. We're a little short-staffed, so I'm going to make a motion that we turn this meeting over to Sherry to run this meeting. Can I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Opposed? Oh.
Randy didn't say a word. So.
Scared to.
Ms. Sherry?
All right, Randy scared of me.
So is that 5-0 then?
So we do have three
I
of
don't
our
think there's 5
seven.
of us here.
There's
No, 4.
We do have 3 of our
Okay.
7 members who are absent today, and sorry that Tara has COVID, so we're thinking of her. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries 4-0. Okay, the second item is a committee reorganization. The reason that is on here is because the committee was co-chaired by Tom Hauser and Luke is no longer here. So we really do need another co-chair. I don't know with
Well,
Tom's schedule, he really hasn't.
One of the questions I have about that, Sherry, is the reason we did that originally was we had the president from the council and the president from the commissioners. And we figured that's why we would have co-chairs. Do we really feel like we need to have co-chairs, or could we just go with one person as the chairman?
I'm okay, I don't know what you guys think, but I'm okay with one person as the chairman, but it needs to be someone who attends the meetings consistently. I mean, I know people get sick, you can't, nobody can help that, but what do you think, Aaron?
Why did we, I'm trying to remember the reasoning on the co-chairs.
Well, we did that
it's
because they were both
presidents.
presidents of their boards. So
And
we
there
had
was
the
no
pres-
other reason we.
No
did
other
it.
reason why we did the
I'm fine
co-chair.
with one then.
That was the
There is.
original.
So can we have a motion to just have one chairperson?
I'll make that motion that we have one chairperson.
Can we have a second?
I'll make the second, but my question is, you gonna have a vice chair? I mean, when Tom's not here, how are you gonna lead the meeting?
We
Who's
can
gonna
do
take
that.
on his
We can have a
task?
vice chair.
We can have a vice
We can
chair.
have a
Somebody that
vice chair.
shows up?
We can have a vice chair. Okay, all in favor of one chair then?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So then I'll make a motion that we have a vice chair.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion that Randy Cole be the chair
No,
of this
you don't.
committee. Yes, I did, I just did. Would anyone like to second that?
I'll second it. Throw him in the fire. dude.
Do we have any other nominations for chair?
Vice chair.
No, I said chair.
Chair.
And he seconded chair. Do we have any other nominations for chair?
So Tom, okay.
Tom had said this morning that he would still stay as chair if this board agreed.
Okay, so what was the motion?
The motion was
For you, for
for
chair.
Randy to be
and
chair.
I seconded it.
Do we have
You
any
can
other
abst-
nominations?
you can deny it, and then we can nominate
Don't
I
Tom.
thought-
don't do it.
Here is.
Your choice, Randy.
I think Terry might want.
Any other nominations?
I nominate Terry Dean.
Okay, is there a second?
Oh, he was
She nominated Tara.
For
She would like to be vice chair.
vice chair.
Oh, she'd like to be vice chair. Okay, so we're looking at chair. We're still on chair
On
right now.
chair.
Any other nominations for chair besides Randy?
Well, Tom put an interest, but I've already seconded his nomination, so.
So no one, has anybody nominated Tom? Okay, we have one nomination. All those in favor of Randy Cole as chair, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Randy?
I'm gonna abstain from that vote.
Okay, so that
3-1.
3-0.
3-0-1. Motion carries. Okay, now we'll accept nominations for vice chair, and Aaron wanted to nominate Tara Damon, and I'll second that. Are there any other nominations for vice chair?
I move that we close nominations.
Okay, all those in favor of Tara for vice chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Okay, minutes from the last meeting.
No, it's not from the last one. It's from your October 28th.
Oh,
I'm working diligently on these. I'm getting them all caught up.
okay, minutes from the October 28th meeting. Do we have a motion to approve? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't
I
involved.
have to abstain because I wasn't there.
Aaron, can you second?
I will second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
201, 2? Yeah.
Okay, the next thing that we're on then, getting down to real business, is the application review and approval. And so we had 3 of these that were entered by the Community Foundation. So I don't think we need to go through them line by line, but I would like for us all to mention any updates or changes that we'd like to see, and I'd be happy to start. So,
Sherry,
yes.
since we do have an audience here, would you explain why we turned this over to the organization?
Oh, yeah, okay. So we are accepting applications for the ARP money. And so in order to do that, we felt computerized would be the most efficient way to do it. And so there are programs out there where you have the ability to sort the information, to disqualify people who don't fill in all the required information and that type of thing, rather than going through hundreds of applications by hand and missing something. So this is basically the same program that the Community Foundation uses currently for scholarships in the community and grants in the community. And so Luke had done some research as to what it would cost us to buy that software versus using the Community Foundation software and having them basically do the labor for us. So not only did they allow us to use their software, but they actually set up the whole application. They didn't come up with the words in the application, this committee did, but they actually inputted everything in so that, and they will also sort and review everything for us. We will review as far as approval, but they'll review to make sure that everything's inputted correctly. They'll also help people who are wanting to put in an application and maybe they don't understand some of the questions or how to answer some of the questions. The Community Foundation will be available to help. And so we voted to pay them to do that, and we think we got a pretty good deal for that.
Yes, definitely.
So that's why they're involved with this.
Can we possibly call Tara? She had sent that email today about, since now the interim final rule has been published, things have.
Do you have her number?
Yeah, yeah, I can call it.
Yeah,
But
call her,
I,
yeah.
she had floated an idea, and I think she could probably explain it better.
Yeah, the final ruling that came down was condensed in 477 pages.
Yeah.
Well, and it was the interim.
I think
Do we want to
that
do that? Oh, go ahead.
she has a 40-pager
Yes.
that condenses it,
just-
so.
Well, it's just an overview that's
Right.
available on the Department of Treasury's website, so.
Okay.
Okay, Tara is on speaker. Tara, do you want to say anything about the final rule and how you think it changed some things?
Sure. So after I reviewed it, there is some lax in the eligibility considerations
I printed that off.
and of how the funding will be. And given that we have a different type of reporting offered, if we can max our cap, I know it's up to 10 million. Obviously, we did not get that, but for reporting purposes, I think it would be easier for us to do that. That said, that opens up a little more flexibility to what the eligibility activities could be. And I really think we need to have a working session to go over all of that since the new final rule was just released.
So, Tara, what specifically could we go over this evening while we have a crowd present?
I mean, obviously you can talk about what we are perceiving the applications for. I just feel that when they come in, it's going to help us better understand where the needs are, and we can assess that pot of money. And I would like to see a larger organization streamline that, because I have a little bit of fear for the auditor's office, but handling that much activity. But as far as for the group that you have there is to ensure, just the application process itself, the timeline. Obviously, it might be changed after tonight. But for each application, what we're looking for in terms of the attachments that need to be included, I don't want to see someone complete this application to learn that their initiative or their project isn't eligible. So I think that's something that's very important to get clear.
So I guess more specifically what I was asking is what we would review at a work session that we couldn't review now or at our next meeting? I mean, could we could, if there's something specific.
What I reviewed was the application is out there, but we don't give enough guidance for each application. I mean, I think in terms of why they're filling out that application, and like I said about the eligibility portion of it, I think it's very important.
So perhaps adding more wording to the beginning of the applications on the site, perhaps when they go in
Yes.
to complete an application, we need to update that information.
Right.
Anybody have a problem with that? I mean, we want everyone to have as much information as possible.
Sure we do. And is there any way to establish a simplified, this works, this doesn't work? Like we get things here in the county, well, we can repair this out of this fund, but we can't buy this out of that fund. So if we could bring some clarity in a simplified manner so that someone could say, well, my project will not work in this instant, or it will work, so that it doesn't
I
take them
think,
400 pages of reviewing or something in order to get there. I don't know
yeah,
if that's
well,
possible.
so we're talking about condensing, and I don't think you would have to read the whole 400 pages, but talking about
Just
what
try to
items
simplify
in
it.
general
Right,
go
like,
into.
or a brief example.
Yeah.
Exactly, brief examples.
But it's-
And so, Tara, you had mentioned before when we went through to do even the applications, I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. We should go out there and look if someone's done that already. If they haven't, then we can certainly do that ourselves. But if someone's done that already, we can take a look at their wording and see if we can adapt it to what we have.
I created a fact sheet initially last year.
Yes.
As a starting point, but with the new final rule, obviously that would need to be revised.
Okay.
And how many pages is the fact sheet?
I think it's maybe a page.
That's great.
What's the name of that, Tara? Is that their glossary terms? Or?
I think so.
Could you resend that to all of us, Tara?
Yeah, I'll look for it and resend it to you guys.
Thank you.
Was that like where you had assets, cash, accounts, that?
I will have to look.
Okay.
I apologize, I'm losing my voice.
You're
It's okay. Is everybody, anything else with the changes? I mean, if we're wanting to do a work session, we need to set a date. If you're wanting to just, I think we might be good to set a regular meeting in order to discuss it. I mean, either way, it'll be a public meeting.
Well, the other thing, I know there's folks that have already sent letters of interest to us. So I think we definitely need to make sure that they understand what we're anticipating with these applications.
Yes, and
And
so
maybe
we,
if you want to open up, if for the persons that are in the gallery tonight, if there's any additional comments that they want to make.
I don't know that
I
they've
think
actually
we're-
had a chance to look at
no,
the
we
application.
haven't
think
gotten to
anyone has
this
seen the
point.
application
We
other
haven't
than this
even
board.
reviewed it yet, Tara, so we're not to that point in the meeting. So, and that's what I wanted to move on to, was reviewing the applications that were out there and everybody giving input as to errors or anything you think needs to be changed on them. I know that, for instance, in the, if we just go to under finances in the not-for-profit and also in the small business, we have on there a balance sheet, a statement of financial position is required. And I thought that, well, I know that we had all discussed that and determined that we weren't going to do that balance sheet. We were going to do an income statement instead, or profit loss is another term for income statement, but that the balance sheet is way too intrusive into people's and businesses, into a business's, I guess, operations. I don't think we need to know all of that. That would be on a balance sheet. I'm not sure what we would use it for. We're talking about loss of income, so a profit loss statement would be more appropriate, is what we had talked about before, and that may have just been an oversight when we had the foundation put this in. I don't know what everybody else, do you all remember that?
I thought we had a template so that it could be the same across the board, because not a lot of organizations have the means to generate a profit loss or
Yes, and
balance sheet.
we did, and we had a template for it, but what I'm saying is in the application that we currently have out there, we are asking them to upload a balance sheet, and we have a
Gotcha.
balance sheet
Okay.
template, and we need to take that down and change it to profit loss and put that profit loss template back up there. Also, we have some questions in some of them. What are the organization's net current assets, current liability? Again, that's delving into things that I don't think that we need to make a decision. Everything that's on that profit loss should be adequate. Do you agree?
Well, me, when I first read the thing, and I'll throw this out for the group, would anybody be comfortable with going to the bank to try to mortgage a house? You provide all your financial data to them, and then they make it all public, and we don't give you the loan. And that's where we are with a public entity. Freedom of Information Act, it's all out there. So when we ask, a lot of these smaller businesses are one guy, two guys, three guys, and you're asking a lot of personal information that may or may not get you funded.
I agree.
It makes me uncomfortable, to ask somebody to do that. It would be you could file it as one, but if you actually work in separate areas and have separate loss and have separate ideas as to what you're going to do, you'd want to keep them separated.
Well,
Now,
Randy,
that's
one of the questions here is the state business ID.
We have a separate business
You
ID.
have separate ones?
Yes,
Then-
all
then,
three.
okay, I thought maybe you all went under that same umbrella, but since you're separate,
We should each make separate applications,
probably so.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel.
each one would have to make their separate case.
Yes.
Yes.
Hmm?
Are we streaming?
Is it on? Yeah, it's on.
What's wrong?
Is the streaming,
We lost
Tom
internet
said-
signal, but I got it back on.
it should be back
I mean,
on.
we could call Tom as well. He said he is also sick, and that is why he's
Yeah.
not here. So, I mean, can I add Tom?
I'll give you
Yeah.
mine. I
I
got
can
it.
do one of them too.
I can merge.
Matter of
the
fact, I
call.
was supposed to call him before the meeting started, and guess what? And he called me.
You started.
Hello?
Hey, I got you on speakerphone, all right? We wanted you to be involved in this.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I go ahead and know too, that I didn't just pull the meeting off. And I've been as many of them as anybody. Okay.
All right.
We're partway through the meeting already.
Okay, we're asking different questions. The one came up, did you hear the question from the American Legion in Candleton? Because there's technically three organizations, and we feel like since they all have their own business ID, that they should each apply.
Okay. Hang on a minute.
Okay.
There's an echo. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I heard myself. That was the question, and the four of us, I think that they should apply separately. Is that correct?
I think so. The streaming went offline for a little bit.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, excuse me, I lose my voice, but
John, you want to share something with us? Quit shaking your head. We're open. I think one of our challenges, and if you can start to see how this is coming together, we have new organizations, we have old organizations, we have some that got COVID money from the federal government, state, and that, some that didn't. And we're going to try to weigh these things as what's best, but my question would always be, what can we do that benefits the bulk of this county? And to bring us, this is an opportunity, $3 million plus, am I in the numbers?
Yeah.
To do something where we could actually do something really large. I don't know what that would be, but if we could do something that's sustainable, that you could pass on to your kids and maybe encourage people to move to our community and do something. I don't know what that project is, but it'll be a challenge picking different individual groups out as winners and losers in that, and what we can do to not only make it right for them, but also allow them to continue their mission going forward. We don't really want to contribute to something that is kind of a flash in the pan and it's gone. We've spent the money. We had $3 million here and we walk out the door and it's gone and we can't find out what usefulness is brought to our community. And it's an unusual opportunity to have this much money laid into your hands to do it. Now there's restrictions, but if we can work community-wise, along with the board, to come up with some grand ideas, I mean, I think we can make a success out of it.
Real quick, have you read the survey results?
Are you asking me, Tara?
Yes,
No.
sorry. It's hard because I'm trying to look at you and you're not real time. So I'm trying to catch up here.
You're lucky that you can't look at me then, so good. No, I have not. I don't know where they are.
Yeah, we did a community survey and we got back those results. And from those results, it's how we based on what applications we intended to fund, what type of those eligible activities we intended to fund. And then from that, whatever the needs came in is how we were going to appropriate those blocks of money. But within that, there are some projects out there that, you know, people that have matters of significance that they have sent letters of interest in, you know, and I think that's been addressed.
How many people participated in the surveys?
Was it 236?
It's a very small number.
It was more.
Or
Is there any
362,
organization
I believe,
here
yes.
that was involved in the survey?
I think it was maybe more than that, too.
She said 362 possibly.
I don't know why that sticks out, but
So-
some of them didn't complete it all the way, too.
So out of this group here, only one group,
Yeah,
Two.
one organization
Okay.
or two organizations.
2 did. So,
And probably the rest was not aware of it.
No, no.
well, that, and if I remember right, didn't it ask you to identify yourself or something? I can't remember. It was something in there, because I looked at it and I thought, I questioned filling it out. I didn't fill it out. But I mean, I did look at it. So I don't know what the other participation rate was. But I would like to see the results.
I have those, I can get them to you.
Okay.
I think it'd be a good idea to have a percentage of money for each category, because what's going to happen if you don't, you'll have businesses coming in with massive losses, and if you start handing out $30,000 or $40,000 awards to those businesses, it's going to eat that money up where there's nothing else to go around for anybody else.
We
So,
We
obviously-
we have
Oh, you
set
did that?
aside
Right.
amounts of money, and then they're actually set aside,
What
they're
are
kind
your
of low.
percentages, you know, you've got that?
Anybody
We
have?
had a
No, we
total of
don't.
what, 1.2 we were going to
There's 1.8
District.
left
Right.
after this, so.
Because the county had recouped some of its losses off that 1.8, and I think that we set aside 1.2 for the grants.
But
For
I'm
this
talk- I'm
first,
talking
for
about.
this round,
And,
for this
round,
round.
there's another round
It's
coming
gonna be
for
another
next year,
round.
but it was broken down into, and
It was a certain amount set aside for mental health, a certain amount set aside for
Small
nonprofits,
business.
and a certain aside set
And that-
for
and
small
that's the
business.
3 applications. the
And they were
topics.
relatively even pots, I believe.
Okay.
And how did you arrive at those 3 like that?
We looked at the eligible uses, and then we talked, the others were broadband, which I think that we talked about not pursuing at this time,
Right.
and then sewer and infrastructure, which at the time, we were waiting on some announcements to be made by the federal government on different loan programs and grant programs that would fund infrastructure. So before we allocated more money to infrastructure, we wanted to see what those were going to be. And talked about doing infrastructure with the remaining, or the infrastructure could be eligible for the remaining 1.8 million.
So let's talk about the first 1.2 that you're going to issue right now, that you said is roughly split into 3 different categories.
Luke created the spreadsheet, I got, Luke did a lot of that.
So in other words, though, that when you talk about infrastructure, what pot does that come out of? That sounds like governmental again, or something that's a
No,
utility.
we didn't have any
And that's a
allocated
second
for it.
tranche that
That's-
comes.
So that's not included in the first
That's not
round?
included, no.
Right.
Okay.
No. And this is part of, I think we're going to be real limited on what we can do other than these applications and the timeline at this meeting, simply because we have catch-up to play, we've had reorganization, we don't have our old chair anymore, and we should get that caught up and get our timeline and have a very quick meeting. Again, I don't know what you guys think, so that we can, once everyone's up to speed on everything.
Who has the relevant data that we're currently going to use? In other words, you've had a lot of discussions, and
It's
apparently
in
Luke
the meeting
made a...
minutes and some of the documents that we
They've been
passed,
approved.
So,
that we approved.
do we have his spreadsheet in there that where it was broken down into how it's going to be, you agreed upon allocation?
I am looking for it now. Tara, do you have the spreadsheet?
I believe I do. And also, Randy, I just sent you the survey results.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But I mean, whatever you've decided as a current group and whatever position you're at that point, then assemble that, so we refer to that, and then we determine how we're going to move forward.
Normally, our chair would bring that.
Yeah,
I wasn't
I got
aware
it.
our
He
other
didn't
chair
show
wasn't-
up.
Well, I wasn't aware our other chair wasn't going to be here either. So none of us brought that because that's not what we did.
But the application process, I don't know,
They're available now for us to go?
No.
No,
No.
we're just in
I
the
have
process
not
of approving them.
okayed them.
I would really, if there's a way to put them out there so that the general public could see them and maybe comment on them. If somebody sees something in there that's overly intrusive, or, I don't know, some way to, if we are at a point we're comfortable with them, and then we put them,
Well, I'm not at the point where I'm comfortable with them yet, until we make those changes that we talked
Okay.
about and some other changes. But when we talked about, Tara, do you happen to have the timeline in front of you that we had to begin with?
Yeah, we should have already been making
No, I do
decisions.
not. I'm trying to find that.
well, I think you were waiting for these to
Yeah.
be completed, and that's
And
what
for
held
us
you
to
back.
No, but we
okay it
had a
before-
further
but we had
timeline
dates.
along, we had further dates along.
Yeah, the initial timeline we had, November 18th was the draft of applications, the 29th was the applications approval. December 1st, launched the applications, utilizing the Community Foundation software. Obviously, those got pushed. And then we were going to close applications originally on January 14th, but we pushed everything by 3
Right.
weeks.
Okay, so when can we review these, get comfortable with them, have a meeting to go over it, and move forward? Week, 2 weeks?
I mean, I think a week would be fine. I don't want to wait any longer than what we have.
So
I
we
think
need to move
do a
on.
week.
Can we go next Wednesday?
It's just with the interim rule, or the final rule rather, and the reporting, we just need to make sure all of our i's are dotted, t's crossed, before we roll this out.
Then if you could refine that fact sheet so we could make that available to the general public,
Sure.
just to, give them some clarity, I think that'd be positive.
Would everybody be available next Wednesday to meet?
Yes.
Set date.
The second.
2nd of February.
Tom, are you on there?
Tara, does that work for you?
What about next Wednesday?
The 2nd.
Okay.
I cannot on Wednesday.
Okay.
What about Thursday?
Thursday I can.
I cannot Thursday.
Yes, Thursday I can.
What about Monday?
What about Tuesday next week?
I'm out of town.
How about Friday next week?
I'm out of town.
Quit going out of town.
It's girls sectional week, I'm sorry. I gotta run up and down the court.
You don't have any girls.
No, I'm chasing them.
I think that's grounds for dismissal.
Really?
And you guys, whatever date works for the majority, that's fine if I can't be there.
Same here. Aaron, what dates work for you?
I'll do my best to make any that have been mentioned work.
Which date are you talking about?
You said Wednesday
Is that
doesn't work, does Thursday?
that's a night meeting?
Work, Tara?
The 31st is a commissioners meeting?
Any date next week?
No, the
Yes, the
7th,
3rd I can.
February 7th, we're in next week.
And why don't we try to go, next week is the week of the 31st.
Right, that's what I'm looking at. We can go, unless you want to put it off to the next week.
I don't.
I'd much rather do it next week.
Me too.
And I'm sure everybody in here would like for us to get this ball rolling.
So what date works for everyone? We'll do it. If everyone can't be here, they can't be here.
Throw the date out, Randy.
I'll be here. Doesn't matter to me.
Can Tom do the 3rd?
Could you do the 3rd? Yes.
Tara
Yes.
can do the 3rd as well. I don't know about Greg. I texted him.
Okay, that's the only date I cannot do, but that's fine. You guys go ahead and meet.
Oh, I did not know you can do the
That's fine. That's fine.
Do you want to do it at 5 or 6? Aaron?
Are you gone all day the day of the?
It's the
Third.
caucus. of
Oh,
Republicans.
Are we talking about the 3rd?
Oh,
Yes.
It may not be so good.
sure.
I could do it early. I could absolutely do it early. I just can't do it late.
What, could we do it at 4 o'clock, Aaron? Would that,
I was gonna say, if we don't have another meeting, it would be easier, I think, if you could do it. a
Tom,
little
would
bit
4
earlier.
be okay?
I can do 4.
Okay, let's just plan 4 o'clock next Thursday,
Okay.
That's February 3rd.
February 3rd.
And those allocations were $350,000 towards the nonprofit financial assistance, $500,000 towards mental and behavioral health and wellness, and $350,000 for small business operational assistance fund, $6,000 for administration, and $355,000 for the provision of government services, which was the tax and financial software. Is that amount right?
Yeah.
355?
Mhm.
So that's just a first round of money, just so you all know. There's
Yeah.
a second round of money coming. And so that was a cap on each one for each.
And we also determined that those numbers could change based on the feed, on what we
Right.
receive.
That was my next
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
if you don't have
Right.
applications.
Yeah.
It was an
You
initial.
don't have to give it out.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if the first round, if you don't qualify in the first round, you could apply again?
Sure.
And there'd be, but there
Absolutely.
would be a separate application process for the second round, correct?
I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, something I was wondering is like, you've got so much set apart, 350,000 for nonprofits, you said. So if you get more in ask than that, you're not gonna be able to fund all the ask.
Correct.
But maybe if you go in, are you going to just perhaps, like if some group asks you for 20,000, say, well, we can't do 20, but maybe we can give you 10.
That's on the
Yeah,
application.
it's on the
Yeah, it's
application.
on the
Okay.
application.
It asks you whether you're willing to accept less if we
Oh,
don't have a.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because some people have an actual project in mind, possibly, and it would take X number of dollars to fund it.
Is
And
that
if
gonna
they-
be something that we're gonna be asked to do, to come up with a project? or-
Well, you're gonna have to come up with a need.
Oh, well, that
The
that
laws.
shouldn't be hard to do if you're a nonprofit. There were a lot of things that as a nonprofit you weren't able to do. You weren't able to hold your fundraisers, or there were a lot of places that, like Heritage Fest didn't go off. That was a major place where we do major fundraising for our organizations, you know, so.
And there's an area there that asks
Sure,
that,
okay.
you know, how, you know, why you lost money due to COVID, and that's where you would explain that.
Right, and I can prove it, you know, with like my 990 that I send to the federal government, you know, I can show that, look, we had this much but this year, but that year we didn't.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Okay. Mr. Davis?
Yes, so can the public come next Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
All the
public. All
meetings
of our
are-
meetings are public.
Just one.
Yeah.
We have two commissioners, we have, by law, it has to be a public meeting that's set on this board.
I noticed that your mental health, what does that category, what does that consist of? Because it was, that figure
Any
you threw out
elected
was more than,
official,
more than the nonprofits would get.
Well, I don't know if it would necessarily.
No, that was, I think those are numbers we set aside, and as we said, it depends on nonprofit. We may get bombarded and asked for $400,000, and we,
I think that was in direct correlation to the survey that we did.
Right.
The
Yeah.
community and mental health was a huge response to.
I'm thinking she also
So-
said health and welfare, so
Right.
that could
There's
be,
a separate category
different
for nonprofit, and then a separate category for nonprofit that is mental and behavioral health and wellness programs. So they're two separate, they're both not-for-profits, but there's two separate pots of money depending on where
Right.
you are. When you do your application, there'll be those three categories, and you choose what to apply under.
and
But
I,
some of those organizations will be for-profit though, right? Some of the mental health, you'll be funding them, right?
Well, if you're classifying this nonprofit, I don't think they,
Well, I believe that they may be able to apply under the.
Small
mental-
business.
and we were all, and I think we also added in like the shelter homes and things like that into that behavior
Mhm.
section.
Yeah, there's a list.
I just wanted to know
of-
what was
Yeah.
in that category.
so our step is to get these applications to a point that we're comfortable. How are we going to address that? By altering them and emailing them to,
One another,
The group,
I think
till we
that's
get
what we
this-
have to do.
and we'll have that ironed out by that meeting on the 3rd.
May I ask this point? Would it be all right to make copies of these and let the other people look at them for them to make some suggestions?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah,
I think.
I don't,
I mean,
yeah, or
there's-
post
So I
it
will-
somewhere where they can.
I will
Get
make
it-
some
get it in.
copies and get them out. I've been dealing with a lot of the nonprofit organizations. I will make sure that you guys get a copy of this.
Knowing they're not final. They're
Right.
not final. They're
It just
draft.
gives you an idea of what kind of questions, and if you think we're asking too much, note it. Let us
Teresa.
know. We want to know how you guys,
Can you put that up on the county website some way so that the group that's not here, that Charlie may not give them a copy, still has access
Right.
to it? So they can, I don't know where you
I'm
might
sorry,
put it.
I missed out on what you were saying a while ago.
We're trying to take the applications that are tentative and put them out there so the general public could
I
comment.
haven't, do I have any?
No.
I don't know if I
we
have
can
any.
give you a copy of them, and can you scan them onto the website?
Yes.
Just for review only?
I can make a place, I mean, you've got an ARP
Right.
webpage, so I
Webpage.
could put them there and link to the PDFs.
Would you rather go to the computer, or would you rather have a hard copy?
Hard copy.
Well, I think we need to do both.
Both,
I
okay.
mean, there are,
Then what we'll do is we'll make a bunch of hard copies, and we said something about taking them up to Cannleton to the library. We can take them down to the depot. and leave all three down there, and we'll just announce that if somebody's interested in looking at it. We'll make them available here, Teresa.
But we did do this already, like, we've
Yeah,
talked about this.
That's what I was
a
gonna
lot.
say.
We really
Yeah.
did do this already. That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we're good. I think that this is an application that, we took examples from many communities, and we've used a format that the Community Foundation uses every grant cycle. I just feel like we've done this for the last
You
3
put them out
months.
to the public, you're gonna get a lot of
We're
responses.
going to get a lot of response, yeah.
Then what are you gonna do with all those?
Then
And we can't, I mean, we have to ask for certain things.
Because the grant requires it.
Right, like there are,
Okay, so we're.
and if someone can't fill it out, then that can be Emily from the Community Foundation side. I mean, if someone has a problem with the application, or can they insert, like, I don't have this information, or I need to talk to someone about
And they
this.
can save the application at any time before the deadline and come back into it, as long as it's submitted prior to the deadline that you set.
So it's not like you start it, then that's it.
Yeah, if you start it, you can save it at any time and log back into your account and update it, just as long as it's submitted prior to the deadline.
Then are we going to accept incomplete applications?
I think someone needs to start it, and give themselves enough time to complete it. If they have questions, and if
Emily can
it's a
help.
valid
Or-
question that we can address it and say, oh, okay, you're
Then they
right.
can
like,
fill it
that-
out.
you-
And there will be buckets that, on the administrative side, it'll, if the deadline is a certain date and we see that there's 4 in draft, I can provide you with the one, we can take a look and see, okay, they started it, but nothing is filled in. Or they started it and most of it's filled in, or maybe all of it's filled in. And I can provide those organizations and those businesses to you all, and maybe reach out to them and say, hey, we noticed your application is still in draft. But I can
split
provide,
those up
you
for
all an
contact.
update, weekly or as we go along, whatever you all need.
I want people to have the opportunity of input, but I feel like we've done, like, if we cyclically just do this every time, then it is hard to move forward and approve an application and do it.
I think it's even more important to establish the evaluation criteria.
Yes.
Concur.
One thing I'd like to see on our nonprofit, maybe the other ones too, is fatalities, COVID, on their application process. How many?
Because that is a loss to your organization.
Right.
I know the
Membership
gentleman you're talking
fee.
about who
Yeah.
was very vital to your organization. That's something that we may have to look at also.
I think that's, you got a narrative portion in there in
That's
several
what you put in the
locations.
narrative.
Right.
So when you build your scenario for your grant request, put in there those items. And everybody's going to have a unique perspective as far as that's concerned. Yours is the loss of membership. Someone else's may be a loss of
And-
donations or something to that.
Right, because it's a
nature.
membership fee loss too.
Right.
Mhm.
So you outline,
All that goes in the narrative.
Right.
and it's in there.
On the evaluation criteria, do you, like, when someone fills out an application for the Community Foundation, can you share how you guys take that? Like, do you have a rubric that goes into, or when you evaluate, is there anything
far as-
kind of created already maybe?
As far as the evaluation sheet, so yes, for each section or each question that is asked, we typically have, like a scoring, 1 to 10 type of, or, we want to score this at a certain weight if we want, that to be worth 20% versus another question to be worth 10%. So it'll certainly be something that you all want to look at as far as each question and how, or maybe we've had it where, like, we have categories. So, impact would be a category, and so that would be,
So in other words, once we have this refined, we're going to go through each item and weight it, and the narratives are going to be very difficult. Because-
However, you all would like
Yeah.
to evaluate it, yes.
So,
Those are hard.
again, we're going back in circles because we've done this already at a prior meeting.
Yeah.
We talked about and approved that we were going to do basically what Emily said, and Greg and I were supposed to come up with
Waiting?
the
And
criteria, but for everyone to approve. We don't get to come up with it. You guys give input, but we couldn't do that until these are done, because they have to be based on these.
Right.
So we're kind of waiting on that.
And then the evaluation sheet can be entered into the system, so you all will see the completed application on, one side of the screen and the evaluation on the other, and you can evaluate it as you are reviewing it. And then to provide you all with the scores of it, the system pretty well just lines it up, averages it out for you, and we'll line it up from highest to lowest, however you would like it
We talked about the
organized.
beauty of that is we don't have to be together when we do it.
Right.
Like
Correct.
Like we're not
And
we don't
influencing
want
each
to be
other's
together.
scores. You have that independent
Correct.
analysis.
You'll have your
from
own
each
login information, you can log in at any time and complete the evaluation.
So I think we're completing the application prior to the next meeting,
Okay.
and we'll mail it among the group to make sure we're on the same page.
Okay.
And then at that point, we're going to determine, and by that time, we're going to accept it.
Yeah.
And then we're going to determine when we're going to start it, which I would think within a week. Does that seem reasonable? After we've approved this application process?
Yes, if you all provide me with your, the updates, changes to each one, I know Tara and Greg have been great about, providing that, and it's a pretty easy update on our end, and then we can turn
And
it
then
on. and-
what window of opportunity, 2 weeks, to get them filled out and back in?
That's
We
it.
talked about
That's up to us.
A month?
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
had talked
I mean,
about
those
that.
are-
We'll
those
give
are the
people
things.
time.
Okay.
We-
And then,
So-
yeah, so I would say at the next one, we'll be doing our timeline based upon, if a month is what it is, if we get these completed, we roll them out within a week, say, another month for them to get back in, and then we'll set a timeline for the review, and
I think we had said 1 to 2 weeks max for us
To
to
review.
review. We
Right.
were going to give
So
ourselves,
you got all
we were
this
going to hold
going.
ourselves to it.
So
Yes,
you gotta
so
move
we
it
have
on.
all this. yeah.
Hopefully, within an 8-week period, we should be ready to, if everything goes right, to start awarding.
right. So you need to set a new timeline, whoever has that, with the new dates, and then just stick to it.
Okay.
As long as you can get quorum, irregardless of who shows up, just
Right.
go on through it.
Everybody's waited long enough, I think.
Charlie, one more question. Now, whenever we, we all send out that, when we look at that to see what we, how we're gonna evaluate our, or what we gotta turn into you all and everything. And then after we get everything online, they'll open up, jump ahead, and after we get our ducks in a row, or we've got everything on the list of what we need, if we get back, we come back here to the courthouse and find her, and then,
No, she's not here at the courthouse. We'll have to go online. And there'll be a contact number, correct, if they're needing assistance to help put in the application.
You just said that's my whole question right there. We can, that way, as soon as we get everything, our part done, we don't look, everybody's done looked over there, then I can give with this contact number, or give with them, and then they can help us fill out the application, everything turned into.
Yeah, if you have any questions, how to access them, how to upload, there will be a contact number on there.
Thank you, sorry.
Is that,
Yeah, I'm fine, I can do that.
And we need to publicize once we
Right.
get these dates established
exactly.
Right.
in as much as possible, so people don't feel like they're unaware.
So I think the key is getting these done and meeting next week and getting
Right.
these dates
And then just set
reset.
our dates up and go, because apparently you've established the timeline.
And it
You just need to
went
get
all
it
to-
revised.
Went to, yes.
Yeah, and then stick to it.
And keep in mind, you do have a webpage
Right.
on the county website. So
Right.
if anybody wants to give me their input on what I need to do, I'll be glad to do it. I can point to the link to where it needs to go to her
Yeah, it
site,
needs to be posted
or
on
the
that.
timeline, or whatever you want to add to that. Just know that I can go in there and do that for you. Just let me know, somebody reach out to me, let me know when you want something put on there.
Okay.
Any questions from the public? Any comments?
We're sorry it's taking so long, but we'd rather be safe than sorry and make sure we do this right.
Thank you for all your.
Yes, thank you for your.
We appreciate all your work.
So we done? We need a motion.
Need a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Who made the motion?
Oh, I thought,
Are we gonna do, I assume that we've taken care of public comments, but it's on the agenda. I mean, I know we have.
I'm assuming.
But does anyone, like, I just want to make sure. Anyone come here to make public comments?
Did anyone come here that would like to step to that mic and make a public comment?
or another question that wasn't answered.
I make a motion.
And I'll
Motion,
second.
Nugent?
You made it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering, how will we know when these documents are ready, that we can start filling out forms?
Next
What form will you use to make that announcement? Will it be in the paper, Facebook?
All of paper, Facebook, and then.
Facebook.
We have a
And the
website
webpage,
put
the
on
county
it.
government
Perry County.
website.
And I think we'll just
.gov.
upload an application just for reference
Yes.
to that same, and then there'll be an electronic one for you, I'm assuming, to
we
fill
can
out.
link to
So-
it,
Yeah, so the link that will be on their website, what we can provide Teresa to put on that webpage, will be directly to the login page, and you'll create an account, and it's just simple organization information. And then that's the account that you'll log back into each time to re-access that draft application and to submit.
But I'm thinking, can we get an application up there without the required login? So that someone might just say, let me look at it to
If we
see if
could-
there's something.
Yeah, if we could possibly like.
You know,
upload
scan
a
it and
scanned
put it out.
document.
Yeah.
And then that way I can see whether it's relevant, and I even want to pursue it rather than going through the whole process of the login and the organization. Then I determine I'm not interested, and then we get clean data that way.
Just those, like the PDFs that Greg
Right.
sent us,
Right.
can be loaded.
Something easy.
And for those of you that aren't aware, our county website is perrycounty.in.gov. And on that home page, you will see a Perry County emblem that says ARP Committee. Something to that effect on there. There's an image on there, and you can click that image, and it'll take you to that web page for the county web page, where I will put the information and the links that.
I'll call you in a little bit.
Teresa, can
That
you
she's
add like a
referring to.
banner? Like,
Pardon?
can you add a banner, or like when it goes live, like for a week or a month or whatever, can we have a banner up on the homepage that says application?
Have a banner, we've got an announcements area.
We can put a banner on our page too.
Yeah, so we can put it on.
Yeah,
but
that's a good
just like
idea.
as soon
Yeah.
as anybody go, whether they think about it or not, like that's just one more like visual, oh, it's live now.
We don't, I mean, I
Yeah,
don't have
that's what
access
we'll-
to a banner
But under the announcements, I
capability on
think
the
it's good, and then
homepage.
we can put it on ours,
But, I mean, I can put another image that says,
live
you know,
now, or ARP.
applications available now, or something, but as far as flashing or running or rolling, I don't have access to that on the homepage.
Okay.
We done?
I think so.
right.
Thank you all for coming.
All those in
Ron,
favor?
just go over-
Aye.
over the- over the paper.
I'll get it to you.
All right.
I think that's 4 or 5 if Tara's still on there. Rose.
I'll have some of them made up, and then I'll drop them off.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I guess.
No, no.
I think they changed that so you can't vote remotely now.